Hello, and welcome to the What Inspires You podcast. My name is Paul.
And I'm Brandon. Join us as we rediscover wonder through inspiring conversation. Shout out to our listener of the week, Madeline, who is our newest listener.
Yeah.
You know,
It's nice when we're a smaller channel, you can give shout outs by name.
Smaller channel, we just call people out by name. You know, it's mostly been Paul's mom, but, you know, we got to include some other people here every once in a while.
My dad's been commenting. That's
Your dad,
awesome.
yep. Everybody on your side of the family, nobody on my side of the family.
Matt Struven from time to time.
That's right, Matt. You know,
When I beg him.
Shout out to Matt.
No, I don't know. I think he owes me a few after all the podcasts I watched of his.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, for our faithful few, just leave those comments and likes for the algorithm.
For the algorithm.
Bless the algorithm.
Now that we're done shilling.
Now that we're done selling our sponsorship.
Yeah.
What sponsorship?
You want me to go first?
Actually, I would like to go first.
Good.
Yes. Oh, good. Okay.
Reverse psychology.
Okay, yes. Unless, yes, I would like to go first.
Please.
Because my topic is similar to yours, but separate.
Okay.
Separate from yours. Okay.
All right. Mine's going to require a safe word.
Oh, wow. Safe word for when to stop.
It gets too esoteric.
Well, I'll just say stop then. Let's establish that safe word now.
Okay. Perfect. Stop works.
Stop. Yeah. Not two stops, just one. just one stop.
Not pina colada.
Okay. I have a question for you.
I bet you do.
This is a world building question.
Oh,
You know,
awesome.
we talk about world building all the time, so
Yeah.
I wanted to pose the question with world building as the context. Okay.
Cool. My favorite.
I want you to imagine all those wild, outlandish worlds, fantasy worlds, sci-fi worlds, places that are just so different from the planet we live on today, right? Completely just abstract, weird, something different. And sometimes when you're a nerd like myself and you get really deep into these other worlds,
Deep. Yeah.
deep into the bowels of Middle Earth or whatever it is,
The pits.
you start looking at that world and you desire that world as Eve desired the fruit. And you say to yourself, gosh, I wish I lived in that place because Earth sucks. Earth is boring. You know, if only I could use the Force and travel to different planets,
Ride flying beasts.
ride flying beasts.
Painted blue.
Yeah. If only I could be a blue person on a planet
Filled with water.
jungle. If only I could go and obtain unobtainium by killing the natives. If only I lived where there were talking trees and talking animals
Yeah.
and, you know.
If only there were dinosaurs escaping from parks.
Yeah, who would
That were
eat everyone
Jurassic.
else except, but not me.
Yeah.
They would eat other people.
I wish I looked like Chris Pratt.
Yeah, and I had more muscles than I do now. It looked cool. But, you know, of all the different planets and fantasy worlds, and, you know, we gave some obvious examples, are there any that stand out to you in your mind as particularly unreal? Just that would never happen on planet Earth. Just things that's like, that is outlandish. That is wild. Like what
Willy
kind
Wonka?
of Willy Wonka? Okay, yeah, the Willy Wonka world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Yeah.
Let's see. Probably Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like very pretty wild.
I wanted to say Mad Max, but probably not actually.
Okay.
There's like literal Mad Max
How
festivals.
about even like bigger world building than that? Like an entire world, like a whole planet that's different, or
like Dune?
yeah, okay,
No.
yeah, like Dune. Yeah, Dune's a great example, right? It's a whole desert planet, some kind of special little spice thing people want. There's like these giant worm things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you go
Like
watch.
unrealistic in what way?
unrealistic, like in the sense that it's not something that happens on Earth.
Oh, it's like super
like there
alien.
aren't like alien. There are
Yeah,
like
okay.
foreign, like non-Earth things. Like we don't have trees that talk on planet Earth.
Yeah.
We don't have giant worms that burrow through the sand on planet Earth. You know what I mean? Like, what are features of other worlds in fiction
Hmm.
that you think, dude, that is so cool, or just wild, or that's so interesting that they have those other things in that world building?
I just started watching a show called Scavenger's Reign,
Okay.
spelled Reign. But it's a super weird one. It's like these people crash on this alien world,
Hmm.
and all the stuff is just super trippy. Like I don't know, they'll like go inside these animals to like harvest balls to use for light, or they'll
Okay.
start to. I don't know. There's like these aliens that like pump goo into you and like mind control you,
Okay.
and then do whatever with you. And
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, whatever. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
they have you harvest for food for them.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like they take control of organisms, and then
Okay.
maybe Aliens a weird world, like Prometheus Aliens.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a weird world. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that would-
so the show is a weird world.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it now. Trying to rack my brain.
Yeah.
There's probably something that's Jupiter Ascending.
I didn't watch that movie. I don't actually know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zathura. You ever seen that?
I don't know what that is either.
It was like a sequel to the Jumanji movies, but it was in
Oh,
space.
it was? Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Super trippy.
Huh. That's
Basically,
crazy.
like the house becomes this like rocket ship, and they're like flying through space, playing this. Like,
Oh,
board
wait.
game.
I did watch that movie. Oh, yeah. I
think
just
Matt
forgot what it was
Damon's in
called.
as like a astronaut or something.
Is
I
he?
don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I did watch that movie. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I know what that is. I didn't know that was made by the same people as Jumanji. Or is it just a similar? It's just similar as Jumanji.
I think it's in this. I think it's like a sequel board game,
Oh, okay.
To Jumanji.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
if
Gotcha.
I'm understanding correctly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was even thinking about how in Star Wars you have weird planetary things like Starkiller Base, where
Okay,
it's
we
like
don't talk about that.
it's just like I mean, I think that's on the more stupid end, but it's just like, what the heck, man? You like took a planet
Intergalactic butthole.
like that, like that doesn't happen on planet Earth, you know?
Yeah.
You don't have a whole planet that you just turn into like a death planet station, you
A
know?
Death Star, maybe.
Death Star, right?
Yeah. That is
Or
pretty crazy.
since you said butthole, I'm thinking of
Why would you think of something when I said?
well, it triggered a thought in my mind.
Okay.
It triggered the thought of Thor Ragnarok, where he's on the junk planet, and there's just like this weird vortex called the Devil's Anus that just like poops out junk. You know,
Around the-
it's like what kind of weird planet has this weird natural phenomenon where there's
is
like a
cool, yeah.
vortex that just like transports things, and then out of all the different possible functions of this vortex, people are like, what should we do with this vortex? I know, just send your junk through it and don't worry about it, and then it all just dumps the junk on this person's planet. Like it's pretty, like it's pretty creative world building, you
Yeah.
know, but it's also like that is an amazing like space cosmic crazy thing that just like got used in the most like stupid way possible.
the
you
galactic
know?
landfill.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's like amazing and stupid at the same time, you know.
That's kind of how we use
Oh,
theirs
man.
sometimes, right?
Yeah. Well, that's an excellent segue, right?
Oh, interesting.
So what I was going to ask then is, oftentimes it's tempting in the exploration of fantasy and fictional worlds to look at those worlds and be like, those other worlds are so magical. They're so cool. Like they have so many cool things. They have giant worms and big pooping vortexes and, you know, all these cool things that happen.
yeah,
Our world is so boring and lame. If only I could live in those other worlds.
yeah,
And what I'd like to do right now is appreciate the inspiring things of our world that I think are actually magical, that really are like fantastical. But we oftentimes just, you know, glaze over those things
yeah,
because they are normal. They're normal to our planet.
yeah.
You know, like if somebody from the
Someone from Dune, they'd be like, "Oh man, another sandworm! Come on,
somebody from Dune would be like,
I'm
sandworms
late to work.
suck.
I got to get across the desert."
Right, but they would come to our rainforest and be like, "It's magic," you know, like it rained, you know,
Yeah.
and they would think that's like the coolest thing ever, you know?
Or it could be like, in Dune, maybe it's like our blue whales. It's like,
Yeah, right.
what percentage of our population has seen a blue whale? It's
Yeah, like not very many. Like it's
like
actually a really rare.
0.001% of like the population or whatever,
Yeah.
like, and so maybe it's like that. It's like, yeah, we have these things, but you never seen one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And see I think that's also another aspect. Like we have really cool things on planet Earth. It's just that we only really experience those things through books and YouTube videos.
yeah,
It's like if you actually were in the ocean and there next to you was a blue whale, it'd be like, first of all, let me pee my pants because I feel like it might eat me and not know that it ate me right now. I don't
Yeah.
want a Jonah situation. And then two, it'd be like, that is a giant freaking animal
Yeah.
in the water. Like, whoa. And it's like the only thing you're thinking about in your life right there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, dude, remember when we had that whale episode and I think the sperm whales,
Yeah.
when they like click,
Yeah.
it vibrates your body and heats you up, and they can
Yeah.
make you like internally rupture if
Yeah.
they go like at full volume.
Just
next to you.
crazy. Just
Yeah.
so crazy, right?
It's like how they stun their prey.
It's like it's exactly like Dune with vibrations and sand.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's wild.
yeah.
So I don't know exactly how to title this,
Hmm.
but I wanted to make the, comment that it's like there are things on planet Earth that are super inspiring.
Hmm.
And so I don't know,
Volcanoes.
volcanoes. I was thinking of volcanoes. I was thinking of rainbows. Like what the heck, dude? That's like pure magic in the sky. That is so cool.
After we watched that movie last night, the Northern Lights.
Yes, the Northern Lights.
Dude, I
right?
saw when I went to Iceland, I saw one of like the rarest things you can see with the Northern Lights,
Really?
which is called like a coronal explosion.
Oh.
And so, like normally, it's like the ribbons of light in the air, but what happened like this night was basically it's like when the radiation hits, like 'cause the ribbons are when it like kind of like the radiation grazes the atmosphere, and so whatever the effect is that happens there. But with the like coronal explosion, it's when it like the radiation hits dead on and then it kind of disperses. So it almost looks like you can see the force field of the atmosphere
Wow.
as this like light like hits and like expands.
Wow.
It's so trippy.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so you know exactly where I mean, not exactly, but like you can see exactly where the atmosphere is like stopping, or the
Whoa.
magnetic shielding is like stopping the radiation from entering the earth.
Whoa.
It's so trippy.
That's really wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super rare, and like we went out on a bus like at midnight or whatever and waited for like an hour and a half without seeing anything, and they're like, well, I guess it's not going to happen tonight. And then it was like they're like, okay, we got to go on the bus in like 15 minutes, and then like 5 minutes after that it started, and then they let us stay extra.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole it was just
That
like
is
an
wild.
hour of Northern Lights.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, once in a lifetime for sure.
Yeah, Northern Lights. Even just recently, the snow falling down. It's like even like, hey, your whole land will be covered with a weird substance,
With water.
and it'll turn into water and be like the resource you need in the
Yeah.
summertime. It's like,
And every kid under 6 will eat dirty snow for
Yeah,
the next
that's
3
right.
months.
yeah,
No.
And, like it. It's such a complex, intricate, fascinating thing. If you were reading something like that in some kind of sci-fi story, you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Wow, this person did really good world building. Like, this is a really cool story that they
What an
created."
alien planet.
Yeah, like what a strange alien planet to have such a strange feature occurring within their weather patterns of the planet.
Yeah.
But here on Earth, it's like, oh, it snowed. Like, oh, it's so annoying. It's like in the moment that snow is falling, it's that like magical, like, the perfect snowfall. Like, look, the snow, it's magical. And then once you have to drive out in it, you're like, I hate the snow. I got to drive in it. I'm going to crash my car. It's stressful. Can't really clean up the streets already. And then it's like an annoying thing,
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that if it wasn't normal for us, the actual act of snow itself
Yeah.
would seem like a magical thing.
That's why
you
like
know?
people from Santa Barbara like go to Lake Tahoe to like experience snow and do all this stuff because they're like, yeah, it's exciting because it doesn't happen ever. Or
Yeah.
I mean, I guess rarely in the mountains, but yeah.
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 That's true. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton of things like that.
Yeah.
I always think about this is totally random, but like geothermal vents under the ocean.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
Like,
yeah.
how weird is that? They always have like these, super massive colonies of like tube worms and like little crustaceans and stuff like crawling around. and they keep finding more of them too, and because you can detect like the chemical imbalances in the water from like where they're spitting stuff out into the ocean. So that's why they like find them on the surface. But they found one like it's I think it's like 20 square miles of like events.
Wow.
But, yeah, it's like a whole field.
Wow.
But they found it because there was like this line of like crabs on the seafloor all going in
Oh.
this like one direction.
Whoa.
And they like followed it, and then they ended up finding all these vents, and they were all going there.
That is super crazy.
Yeah.
What?
There's like a little parade of crabs like going
Wow.
along for like half a mile or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
Going to go feed or whatever.
yeah, do
Yeah.
whatever, hang out at the hot tub.
Yeah. I know, and that's another interesting thing is when you go into the water, the ocean, you think like it's gonna get cold. The deeper you go down, it gets colder, and it's like, well, until you get to the bottom, and then it might get really warm. You know, it's
Good.
like in certain places,
Yeah,
it could be really warm down there.
you could literally burn yourself
Yeah.
underwater.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like scald yourself.
Super weird to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen brine pits?
No, it's a brine pit.
I feel like I showed that to you, but they're areas of like super salinity underwater.
Oh.
And so, like, since the salt water is more dense than the regular water, it'll sink down and it fills like basically basins with this like extra salty water. It's the creepiest thing you've ever seen. So it looks like a
Wow.
lake, or basically like a lake under the water.
Whoa.
And so if fish go in that, they like suffocate because they don't have any like enough oxygen in the saline water.
No way.
And it like sends their system into shock because they're filtering this like highly saline water.
No
And so they
way.
start to like twitch and stuff. So there'll be like a bunch of like fish corpses around these areas and
Ew,
stuff.
creepy.
Yeah, and it's like underwater, so it's pitch black, and there's just like this milky lake where like you'll see things
Ooh.
like swimming in and out of, and
Ooh.
like murky shapes and shadows. I'll show it to you. It's trippy.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it literally looks like something out of Alien, the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just is like there's so many otherworldly things
Mm-hmm.
that are happening on our world, you know.
What about an animal with a long neck that can eat?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just
Eat from a
crazy
tree.
animals that like spit things and have their own little light source or
Yeah.
I mean just
Make
weird.
electricity.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool animals and nature and plants and phenomena that occur on planet Earth.
Yeah. Have you ever seen
know.
a firefly in person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that
firefly.
trippy?
Yeah, that's super trippy.
Yeah.
I know they've got a bunch of them over on the East Coast,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's like a bummer that we don't have them over here in the West. But
Yeah.
I know I always think fireflies are super cool.
The first time I saw one, I thought I was like hallucinating or something because I'm like, like sometimes if you like, like see stars a little bit, if you like rub your eyes or something, or, have you ever had that experience?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at first, like I thought it was like something like that. I'm like, am I dehydrated? Because I was like
Mm.
seeing these little flashing lights, and I was like, wait, that's a bug. That's a firefly. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so trippy. They're really cool.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring to the table today. I hope for folks listening, they can
Yeah.
look around their world and say, I am a fantasy character. I do live in a crazy sci-fi planet.
Right. It does feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the more- yeah.
I just think they're like if there were characters from some kind of sci-fi story who came to our planet,
Yeah, from like
If-
Lord of the Rings. You mean like, the trees don't talk here?
yeah, finally make them shut up. Took them forever. I mean, but it's like if,
But we can
if
harvest wood without cutting it down a
yeah,
tree
that's,
soul
it's
or
not
a
it's not
dryad?
it's not immoral to kill the wood. Well, there's people who will still say it's people who still
Just depends who you ask.
Yeah.
It's still
So-
kind of taboo.
Dude, that would be actually a hilarious little comedy show if like some fantasy creature, some fantasy elf came to our world and was
Yeah.
like, oh, the trees aren't alive. I can kill them. And then it's like the environmentalists are trying to stop them. And it's like, that'd be a really funny thing. Anyway.
Elf versus yeah, environmentalist.
Yeah.
I just learned about a crazy system the other day because I'm researching for this garden project, and I was looking at the soil cycle of how plants actually get food, and it's super trippy. Like, so basically, like in the most basic sense, they eat dirt. Like, so there's like dirt is all dirt is really is rock. And it's like different types of rock. There's like clay, silt, and sand. And so like sand is the most coarse, clay is and it gets everywhere. And
I just hate it.
yeah.
Unlike clay that's smooth.
I was playing a game the other day, and like the character goes into this like desert level, and he's like, the sand here is so coarse, I hate it. And then the other character's like, it gets everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh man, you can't escape it.
Can't escape it. But yeah, so it's like basically all the minerals are kind of locked inside this rock form, which is like, how do you get rid of, or how do you get like the minerals you need out of the rock? Well, then that's where the bacteria come along, and the bacteria use acid to melt all the rock. So it's like, so then you have this bacteria web that's all kind of like going around and basically chewing up the rock and processing it. Dude, it's like a factory, it's like all these like little industrial machines going on at once.
Yeah.
And but then the plants, like, they need those minerals. So what do? They put they excrete sugar from their roots. And so then that attracts the bacteria. So the bacteria that have been like kind of processing all these minerals, they eat the sugar near the roots, and then like they're just constantly dying and like excreting and stuff. So then that's how the minerals and stuff come in proximity to the roots. And then
wow.
Yeah. And so the plants are like, they take in the oxygen, and then the oxygen's to like, well, they use it for photosynthesis, but then the photosynthesis both creates energy and the sugars that they need. So the sugars go to the roots, and then, so then they pull in all the minerals they need to actually grow the plant, and then the carbon from the air, combine that, and that's what actually like makes up a plant. It's like carbon and those minerals.
Wow.
And and then, the bacteria and the protozoa eat the bacteria and then help like build up bigger blocks. Or well, no, the fungi come along actually, and they take the minerals that are being broken down by the bacteria, and then they build like kind of these enzymes, which makes like kind of building blocks that can be turned into stuff, which then the protozoa come along and then eat the bacteria combined with those enzymes.
Wow.
And then you have like the nematodes and stuff like that.
Nematodes.
Yeah,
I don't even know what those are.
Yeah, they're like little like worm things.
Oh, okay.
And so then they eat all the protozoa, and so it's like it keeps all the bacteria in check from like overpopulating the soil. And it's insane. It's so weird.
Wow.
But yeah, so if you have healthy soil, it's like you basically have a fully functioning like supply chain for breaking down like the soil, and then each like little section has its own uses. Like the like the fungi and stuff will actually push apart the soil, like build structures and stuff to like separate soil so it's not super compact, so it can like drain properly with water and stuff. It's not getting waterlogged and all these kind of things. So yeah, it's actually insane.
Wow. I mean, I've always just thought photosynthesis was insane.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we create like solar panels in order to create energy out of the sun, and plants have just been doing it forever. And it's like, that's a crazy superpower.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about the nutrient absorption out of soil. That's wild.
Yeah, that's where they get all their nutrients from.
That's crazy.
And so, carbon's like the building block of life, but that doesn't provide any of the nutrients, and that all comes from the soil.
Yeah.
And the breakdown of like rock, essentially.
Yeah.
Into its base mineral elements.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super trippy. Wow. And when like a seed too, that's why actually you don't need to plant a seed in nutrient-rich soil, because a seed won't actually use any of the soil's nutrients. It has all the nutrients it needs to grow its first leaves in the seed.
Wow.
So yeah, so you can just plant the seed in literally anything, and it'll make its first, because like to get nutrients, it needs photosynthesis,
right,
to like start growing roots and like sugars.
Yeah.
So until it has leaves, it can't gather any nutrients, which is why all the nutrients are packed into the seed. And so it'll just grow pretty much anywhere until it has its first leaves.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Can start doing photosynthesis.
That is super crazy.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then don't even get started on how a human grows, man. It's like,
that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, we live in a cool world. Go explore it.
It's true.
Find something new. See the Northern Lights. Meet a Norwegian guy.
Find a firefly.
And find a firefly.
Or
all
watch
those
the show.
cool things.
That's good too.
Yeah. Watch a movie.
Yeah.
About cool things.
Watch more YouTube.
Watch more YouTube, and then go experience it.
That's true. Yeah.
Swim with the whales. Don't get eaten.
All right. You ready, dude?
I'm ready, man.
Okay.
I'm ready for a deep, insightful question. Cosmic question.
When you think of Jupiter, what does it make you think of? And it can't be something physical. It has to be something abstract, like a concept.
I mean, I think of red.
Okay.
I think of giant eyeballs. I think of the biggest thing of all the things. I think of the day Thursday. I don't know if Jupiter actually correlates to Thursday or if it correlates to like a different day of the week, but I always think of Thursday for some reason.
Nice.
I think of Thor. I don't know if Thor is related to Jupiter or not, but I think of Thor sometimes.
Interesting.
Jupiter.
Doesn't have to be an exhaustive list, whatever you.
Yeah. I think of something that's big and crazy. It's like Jupiter is like another way of saying gigantic. You know, I should say something. I should just call something Jupiter next time instead of being like, "That's a big truck, man." I should be like, "You got a Jupiter truck. That's a Jupiter-sized truck from Texas, right there."
Yeah, maybe like energetic with like raging storms.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah. Maybe that's why I think of it as Thor, because there's raging storms. Thor is like smoldering fire. Hulk is like raging fire.
Right? Yeah.
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 So that's what I think about with Jupiter.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because basically I've been on this deep dive with the planets and trying to find. Well, I mean, symbolism is just always fascinating to me. So this is just another area I feel like I've unlocked. Found the symbolic key in a lot of cases, which again, this isn't a new discovery. I mean, people have been assigning attributes to planets since the beginning of time, essentially. Right? Whenever you think of Mars, it's like war and blood because it's red, you know, and it's all these different things. But yeah, it's cool because for me, like, so it all started from the book Planet Narnia, which this guy goes through each of the kind of books of Narnia and then assigns them like a planet. And well, he speculates that's what Lewis was doing too. So, like, Lewis never said it explicitly, but he was very concerned with the planets as far as, I mean, obviously the space trilogy is all about going to...
That's a planet thing.
Yeah, you know.
Going to Mars and Venus.
Yeah, and at the end, like, you know, each planetary body comes down to the house and, like, you know, interacts with the people and they all have, like, their trait, you know. So, yeah, it was interesting. Like, some of them, I could definitely see how Lewis was getting into that, like, you know, drawing from kind of an ancient source of categories for different things. But to me, it's always interesting because it allows you to take, I don't even know how to broach this topic, but it allows you to take like two seemingly like unrelated topics and like meld them together in some sense where it's like for, you know, just, okay, so thinking about the sun, right? Like a lot of some of the attributes like associated with that would be like wealth, like gold, you know, because of the color, because of the kind of majesty of the sun, splendor, a few different things like that. And, you know, like another aspect of the sun might be like understanding because it lights up things, it illuminates an area, you know, to have understanding. So it's like if you went up to somebody and you'd say like, what does gold and understanding have in common? It's like those don't really seem like anything in common, you know. It's like these are almost like two separate categories that don't seem related at all. But if you like put it under the category of the sun, then all of a sudden they're related, you know, through the sun. So the idea being that so I have to get into identities a little bit.
Okay.
So like each of these, so like the planets and each of the things that are under them are containers for multiple characteristics or identities in some sense. And so the way I understand it, the reality kind of lays itself out in some regard is that there's all many almost infinite identities, but they get nested in higher identities that will um, like gather them up into the higher thing. So
Okay.
you could have like, you know, like a house, a dog, a child. It's like, what are those? You know, it's like those are just like loose identities, right? In some sense, like what can those get collected into? It's like, well, maybe it's a family. You know, a family has a house, they have a dog, they have a child. So you have these three kind of like seemingly they're unrelated until you put them in a higher category, right? And so then you have a family, and maybe you have so then maybe you have like worship, you know, prayer, and showing up once a week. Over here, like identities, like certain things, and maybe that falls under a church.
Okay.
And then you have a church and a family at the second level, you know, and when those two things are together, what do they fall under? They're under a community, you know. So then communities up here, and there's hundreds of thousands of different types of communities, you know, that all have their own little components to what makes them up, you know.
So it's a hierarchical family of lobsters.
Ultimately, yeah.
You can't use the word hierarchical. You can't use the word hierarchy.
Not throwing lobster in there.
I'm thinking of a certain Canadian guy. Anyway,
Yeah, pretty much.
so the community.
Yeah. So
yeah.
you know, so then you have a community, and then it's like maybe you know you have, you know, a community of people that were, you know, a Salvation Army, a church, Campus Crusade, and it's like, well, what do all those communities have in common? It's Christianity or something, you know, like that's the higher identity there that like all those things fall under. And so you keep doing this all the way up, and you get to like some really, like I think it narrows as you get to the top, and you have things like, you know, I think in my opinion, something like the planets would be like very near the top, where you have like so many different identities like tied up in these ultimately that you well obviously not obviously, but like God would be the top identity, right? Like every other identity flows up and falls under that. So that would be like the supreme identity that encompasses everything else. Everything else stems from, flows from, everything else is contained in that one identity.
Yeah.
I would say right under that you have something like love, like love or pride, you know, where it's like love is like one of the most, I think that's why I have a hard time defining it, because it's like one of the most ambiguous and like ambiguous but both ubiquitous terms as far as like what motivates things, or like how things like play themselves out. And love itself isn't the right word necessarily for that concept, but something along that line of like unity or harmony or something like that. But you know, and pride is kind of like the opposite of that, where it's like discord or the breaking apart of things, disharmony. So I think somewhere in that higher echelon though is like the planets, and that they have their containers for a lot of different identities. And so, you know, just looking at these different planets, it's like super cool to see all the things they contain, you know? And so for me, with writing and stuff like that, it's been fun to be able to explore that. And actually, even reading Lewis's poetry about the planets, he did a lot of poetry about the planets.
Oh, he did? Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I mean,
Like, is it weaved into his stories or completely separate? Okay, so like outside of his normal stories, he did poetry about the planets.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so he would compose poems to different planets.
Oh.
And yeah.
You know, I might have that book of poetry.
Oh, really?
I've got one of his books of poetry upstairs.
Okay.
It's called like The World's Last Night, I think. It's like one of the rarer books that he wrote that most people don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've got a first edition copy of it.
first edition.
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
It's kind of cool.
Is it signed?
No, that would be really cool.
That would be sick.
If I would have told you a long time ago if it was signed, you would have known that. I would have shown it to you. Yeah,
Put on the wall,
it
like framed and
would have
open.
been framed in a glass case. Yeah.
Don't touch it. Don't look at it. No
Yeah.
flash photography.
Don't even breathe on it. It's too much light.
Too much light.
Yeah.
Why are the lights off in the room, honey?
Yeah.
Don't turn them on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool though, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, so maybe some of that poetry is in there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it was, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool poetry, I guess. Just how evocative. So I think when you have something that contains that many categories, when you like look at it, like for my mind, which is just tapped into symbolism all the time, like each time I'm like thinking about it now, it just sparks like a ton of different little sub identities, I guess, or like thoughts about like what that contains.
Mhm.
So for me, I'll go over the planets real fast and then
Oh yeah,
That way
because
you
we
can-
know that the sun was like gold and illumination.
Yeah.
And then Mars was like war.
Well, so here's the thing too. So do you want me to go in order from the
Yeah, go ahead. Give me the spiel.
okay, I'll go in order from the Narnia perspective.
Okay.
So the first book is The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Right.
It's Jupiter.
Okay. That's Jupiter.
I'll let you can guess after this if you want.
Yeah.
What each book would be.
What does it have to do with Jupiter? I know. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right?
It's a raging storm because it's winter. Because winter is a storm. I
So
don't know.
this might also help you. This might also help you.
Okay.
It's Jupiter is also called Jove.
Jove.
Mm-hmm.
Jove, like you're jovial. Like you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the happy little children.
Yeah. Like,
Or-
like wonder.
Or
Like the
is
beginning.
it Jove like Jadis, who was the Nephilim lady?
No, it's jovial.
Okay, jovial.
Well, that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something to learn right there.
Jupiter jovial.
Yeah. And then it's interesting because like I think one of the first lines or early on in the book when Peter goes through the wardrobe, he says, "By Jove."
Does he?
Yeah.
Really? By
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Yeah.
Ah,
Isn't that weird?
that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And actually, there's potentially some connection with Melchizedek and Jupiter.
Really?
Yeah, because one of the ways to interpret it, like Melchizedek means, it's like in service of the king or something like that.
Okay.
But the king means like Jupiter was the king of the planets,
Oh.
and so there's like a potential interpretation
he
there.
was a priest of Jupiter.
Something like, well, yeah. I mean, ultimately it's Christ or God, but like the symbolism is
Or
Yeah.
maybe he was an astrologist. I don't know. Maybe he was the priest of horoscopes.
well. The thing is like the symbolism in and of God always points upwards, right?
Right,
So it's
right.
like it points to something higher.
Yeah.
But
To the top of the pyramid.
yeah, to the eye up there.
To the eye of the pyramid.
Yeah. The Illuminati.
Sounds
Illuminati on the
like
top.
a little scammy to me. Sounds like a scheme.
Some kind of triangle scheme.
Yeah. What's the triangle character from Gravity Falls?
Oh, Bill.
Bill.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
good
So
character.
book one was
Yeah.
Jupiter. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so-
interesting.
So it's it's basically it's the beginning, it's the start, because Jupiter can be like youth and vitality.
Okay. Okay.
It's like it's very young planet, very active.
Mm.
The storms raging around it, and within it, the eye is still going. All these different things. It's like if you look at it, even just the winds going, every which directions, which is why it's striped. There's like always storms happening.
Yeah.
It's a very active planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you'd see like obviously power. I think you said at the beginning when you were thinking of it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's basically Aslan coming and bringing spring to Narnia.
Okay.
It's like kind of the symbolism there, and it's like the beginning, the wonder, all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
So then you move into book 2, which is Prince Caspian, and
I feel like you told me. Was this Mars?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. This was
Yeah.
Mars. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, because there's fighting. There's a battle that happens.
yep.
Yeah.
There's battles. It's very very orderly battles. They line up. They have their, it's like, they have their like tournament. It's all about chivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Prince Caspian, obviously, or no. Well, I guess he is Prince Caspian at that point, but it's not the book Prince Caspian. Wait,
Horse and his boy.
No, no, no.
What are you
sorry,
talking
sorry.
about?
Sorry, I'm talking about Prince Caspian.
Prince Caspian.
Yeah.
Mars.
Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, so then, it's like they're growing up. I mean, he's in the book, it starts out, he's in a castle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's kind of knightly imagery everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing the the children from Earth do when they come back is they're in a castle. They
Yeah.
find their old like coat of arms and their
That's true.
shield with like the lion on it. They
The weapons of war.
yeah, and so like Mars can also like represent like vigor, like sturdiness, hardiness. And so it's like when they're in Narnia and they start breathing the air, they get stronger and they like become, whatever. Yeah, it says like Prince Caspian, like he starts out as this kind of like boy, but then it's like when he's ready to go into the battle against Miraz, it says he's like basically like he was like full of stature, basically like he had grown up, in some sense, and he was like ready for war.
He was ready.
Yeah, so then there's just different things like that. So yeah, and then going back to what you're asking about, like, is Mars just fighting? It's like there's positive aspects and negative aspects to each of these as well. So it's like if you're thinking of fighting, it's like war for war's sake is not a good thing, right? Being aggressive is not good for being aggressive's sake. So it's like you see that kind of in Roman mythology, where it's like Ares is often portrayed as like the negative aspects of war, where he's like bloodthirsty. He's wants to go out and slaughter people. He's like picking fights. He's aggressive and angry. Whereas the positive aspects of the martial spirit are being chivalrous, being resolute, having virtues and values, and like sticking to those, and being steadfast is another one. So yeah, and then there's also like a lot of reference to steel and iron in the book too, which is people's swords or different things like that, which each planet has like a metal associated with it as well, which is a little more of like an alchemy thing. But Jupiter is associated with tin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then Mars is obviously iron.
Mars is iron, yeah.
Yeah, which is even interesting because you look at it's like a rust covered planet, in some sense.
Right, yeah.
And so
it's a red planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red rising.
Yeah, red rising.
All right, so then we need to move in the next one.
Yeah.
The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I think.
Voyage of Dawn Treader.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it, I think I told you this one.
You told me this one, which is the dawn.
Yep.
Which is the sun.
Yep.
And they go towards. Did they go to the east or the west? I can't remember.
East.
They went to the east.
Yeah.
So the rising sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then each time they encounter Aslan, he gets brighter and brighter till at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
There's always like things that are kind of like invisible that become seen.
Okay.
With the Pufflefoots, whatever they call it.
The Hufflepuffs? No, wait, no, that's Harry Potter.
That's so close.
Blasphemy.
It might have been Hufflepuff. I don't know.
I can't remember anymore. All I can think of is Hufflepuff.
It might have been that, honestly.
I can't remember.
Poggins was his name or something?
Poggins.
Shoot.
The Hufflepoggins.
Yeah, the big-footed people that are invisible.
Pufflepoggins?
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
something.
No, Poggins, I think Poggins was the sort of frog guy in the next story.
That was Puddleglum.
Oh, Puddleglum. Yep, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah.
I can't remember anymore. Forget it.
Yeah, oh well.
I don't know.
Now I have two things to look up after
Okay.
this.
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, it's like things becoming invisible and or
illuminated.
Yeah, thank you. Seen, yeah.
Seen.
So yeah, you have all this imagery of like sun, a lot of imagery of gold in that, especially. It's like the ship is gilded with like a dragon. Eustace Eustace like finds the dragon's den with all the gold in it. There's the water that turns things into gold. And like you mentioned the name Dawn Treader.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of solar imagery.
Right.
When they're in the darkness, the beam of light comes down to like help them when they get lost in the black waters.
Yeah.
So yeah, sun plays a big role in that story. Yeah. All right, up next is The Horse and His Boy. This is a tricky one.
The Horse and His Boy? I don't know. Okay, wait. So
I should explain what the other planets are.
Because technically, there's only 7 books.
Yeah.
But there's like 8 planets plus the sun and moon. So I got like 10 things to pick from.
Yeah. So we've done 3. So then there's so what's left is
Mercury, Venus, the moon.
Yep. and Saturn.
and Saturn.
Yeah.
So Horse and his boy. Which planet is Horse and his boy? I feel like it's not the moon, just because I feel like the moon. I don't know. I don't know which one would be the moon, but somehow the moon seems more like, I don't know, mystical or something like that. I feel like
It is kind of the odd book out in some ways.
Yeah, it is sort of the odd book.
But yeah, you're right. It's not
I don't know.
It's not the moon.
I don't really know any characteristics about Mercury except that Mercury is like really close to the sun. I'm not even really sure. I mean, Mercury is like a type of chemical substance.
So yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
There's Quicksilver. There's Mercury could represent like it was often represented with Apollo, like the messenger.
Okay,
it's like
the messenger, Apollo.
It's seen as like the swift planet. Like
okay, well, it's Mercury then. All right, there it is. It's Mercury. All right, that's it. If you're going to describe it as a swift messenger, then I'm going to go with that because that's basically the whole story.
Right?
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's like horses and they're delivering the message of like they're going to come conquer you and yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah. And so, it's like, and again, the multiplicity being like turned into one, like taking a lot of like disparate elements and combining them. It's like when you see Aslan in the story, he's like always kind of like portrayed as two lions.
Yeah, he is.
Or, it's like you see him in separate instances where it's like, he takes a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
So he's like a cat and then he's, this thing and that thing. And then, Shasta at the end asks him like, which lion were you or whatever, or he's like, were you this lion or something? And basically Lewis's Trinitarian doctrine comes out and he says like, I am. And he says that like 3 times or whatever at the end.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of confirming that he's like all these things are coming into him. And so, yeah, it's, but yeah, again, the speed, the quickness, all that kind of stuff plays a role. And there's a lot of stuff with speech too, like where, like Bree, like the horse stops talking, because he's like humbled. And so it's like, being associated with Apollo and speech and like dialogue. It's like there's plays with dialogue of like talking then not talking and stuff like that. Because Bree's kind of a babbler before, but then he learns the wisdom of silence and holding back and not just being like, not just like shutting up, but just, the importance of respectful silence or like the appropriate opposite to speech in some sense. So you get stuff like that. But yeah.
I actually really like The Horse and His Boy.
Yeah.
I actually really like that story.
It's cool.
Yeah. I almost wish that it was more like there are a lot of things in that story that set you up for other stuff in the Narnia world. But I don't know. I wish that there was almost a more direct involvement, but I feel like that's a very overlooked book.
Yeah.
People will read the other ones. They'll get to The Magician's Nephew and it's like, the origin story. Like, obviously it's important. But then you get to Horse and His Boy and it's like, it feels like a weird side character story. Like, why do we care? But I always thought it was a really good story and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Maybe because it's like there's no recognizable or fewer recognizable characters.
You don't get the 4 main characters or kind of the additional people after that.
Yeah. Maybe. Is it Silverchair?
Or it's not about a character from our world.
Oh, that
because
too.
he's from that world.
Yeah.
So it's not about a British person.
There's nothing to relate to.
There's no British people, so we don't care.
Yeah.
He was just some Norwegian Narnian guy.
Oh yeah, and then even the twins, like that's kind of a form of multiplicity.
That's
like
right.
a form of multiplicity, where you have like these opposite sides of a coin. It's like one character split into 2 is like a type of a way of looking at twins. Which is kind of interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right, Silverchair.
Silverchair. I don't know. Okay, wait. So I got Venus, I got the Moon, and I've got
Saturn.
Silverchair. That was the book I liked the least. I remember that it was like the lady with the green dress and the green snake. There's the knight who can't speak.
I think like
they're kind
silver
of in the
is going to be your clue.
Silver, yeah. I mean, there's the silver chair. That's the medal. Wait, what was the medal of Horse and His Boy?
Oh, it's Quicksilver.
So, that's Quicksilver.
So like Mercury.
Mercury.
Yeah, like that's silvery, like when you heat it up and it's like, you put it in a
Oh, I didn't know that was called like Quicksilver.
Yeah, that's one of the names
Yeah?
for it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
or Mercury.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. Oh,
yeah. And then what was the? Oh, gold was the other one. Yeah,
yeah, gold.
iron, tin.
Um, I honestly, I don't totally know, but I'm just sort of leaning towards the moon because it's silver, and that's about all I'm going on with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm like 2 for 2 here.
Yeah, dude, you're doing great.
Okay.
Your symbolism,
Like-
your intuition is
It's like I was
right.
trying to think to myself, like, is there some scene in the story where they're like under the moon and the moonlight and like is there? I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, when Jill looks at the giant letters, I think.
Oh, was that in the moonlight or something?
I think it's at night. Yeah, like it's in a snowstorm
Oh.
too. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking snowstorm. I wasn't thinking the moon.
I think it is night then. But yeah, but then a lot of the book takes place underground as well in darkness.
Yeah, it does.
So
yeah.
there's like that kind of aspect too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that's true. Because the moon is a nighttime thing. So they're like in nighttime world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. I get that.
Yeah.
I get it.
And there's actually some throwbacks to a few like old ancient myths too, like when the I think like Rillian wears, oh shoot, I don't know, it's something to do with his armor. I forget what it is exactly, but I think he's wearing silver armor or something too,
Okay.
or something like that. But
Can't
yeah,
remember his armor. Okay.
but yeah, like the moon is kind of like this mysterious presence, right? It like controls our tides. It does, it has like these strange effects, like strange subtle effects. It's not like a huge loud effect on us, but it has like subtle effects. And so you see like a lot of subtle effects kind of going on, like the queen's like enchantment over Rillian, is like this subtle effect, like no one really knows what's happening. Like Polly like forgets the signs, right? Like the moon is like forgiving signs. It's like you see a full moon, you see a crescent moon, these are different signs in the sky that like Aslan gives to her.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. The moon is a sign.
Yeah, for like seasons and times. And so you have like signs there, and then she like subtly forgets the signs. It's like a very subtle book, like nothing really like bombastic happens, It's always just like this little thing here until the curse is broken at the end. But
and then they like almost go down to the hell that was like the home of the little gremlin creatures.
Yeah.
And he was like, that would be really cool to go down there. Like, I may never get another chance. Maybe I should. No, I guess I should go back to my kingdom. It was like, dude, you were going to like go down to hell. What were you thinking?
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And there's that big giant sleeping there in the caves that shows up in the last battle.
Yeah.
And,
The Father Time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll spoil the last. Well, yeah, I'll spoil the last one.
Okay.
He was going to be originally, well, in Lewis's original notes, he was called Saturn.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh, so the last one is Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
That's interesting.
So he renamed the character to Father Time,
Father Time.
but it used to be Saturn. Yeah.
Saturn.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Saturn's like a clock. I don't know. Because it goes in a circle. Yeah,
I
all right,
mean,
all right.
yeah, there is like the ring symbolism as well,
All right.
for sure. But yeah, so then that means the last two. But the
Yeah. So the
magician's
magician
nephew
is Venus, which makes sense because Venus is oftentimes thought of as like birth or life or Eve or and so it's like the worlds are being created. So yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you have like kind of the Nephilim creature at the beginning.
Right.
It's like the beginning of time. She's described, like Jadis is described as like the most beautiful person. So it's like beauty is often associated with Venus,
With Venus.
Aphrodite.
Yeah. Right.
Like love, beauty, kind of like fertility, creation, all those things.
Right.
And it's like you have the juxtaposition of like Karn, like the dying world, with Narnia, like the birthing world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And like all the animals, like at the beginning, pair up, so it's like everyone has their mate, at the beginning. So like that's emphasized. Even the way like Aslan is described as like way more feminine. He's like always seen as beautiful, like using certain language, in like more feminine manner, without being a feminine character totally. But,
Yeah.
or it's like his eyes are like, golden, or he's smiling at people or laughing, or, he's much more like warm and motherly in some sense.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
You obviously have the Garden of Eden symbolism as
Right,
well, the
right.
apple and stuff like that. but yeah, basically like, and Diggory's whole quest is like out of love for his mother, you know,
Hmm.
and so there's like strong like mother ties there as well.
Hmm.
Mother boy. But yeah, and so yeah, you get a lot of that kind of symbolism there, which is cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You even get the whole act where there's like a boy and a girl who have to wear rings.
Yeah. I think that was Lewis's subtle way of trying to like be decent, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because they end up getting married, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, because they become the professor and his wife.
Yeah.
Or is the professor married?
I thought he was.
Yeah, I think he
I thought
is
it was the professor and his wife. Maybe it was the professor and his lady friend,
Well,
like C.S. Lewis.
yeah, right. He got married at the
Yeah,
end.
he got married. And he got married.
Yeah. What a interesting story there, but
Yeah.
yeah. If you ever think there's no hope for you, you just have to be 55 and find someone who's terminally
You just have
ill.
to write really famous books.
That's it. Yeah.
Somebody will be into you.
It's super easy.
Mhm.
Barely an inconvenience.
Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah. So then
right.
that leads the last one, which I'm sorry I spoiled for you.
Saturn. Yeah.
But yeah.
I was not going to, honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten Saturn or not. That's,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I might have gotten Venus and then been able to deduce Saturn, but
Sure.
I don't know if I would have connected Saturn to Last Battle in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Saturn's a weird one. I mean, it's the one I kind of, I don't want to turn this into a personality test, but it's the one I identify with the most or
Really?
understand the most.
Oh,
yeah.
what's the metal of Saturn?
Lead?
Lead. Oh.
And
What was the metal of Venus?
Venus is copper.
Copper?
Yeah, it's kind of like this
Interesting.
warm color.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, warm and vibrant.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, lead is is Saturn, if that's giving you any clues.
Okay.
It's the farthest planet out. I mean, technically, according to this ancient cosmology.
Okay.
So it kind of sits on the edge. It's like pretty uniform in color and
Mhm.
like gas. So it's
Mhm.
basically like it's basically death.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously the characters die at the beginning of the last battle
Yeah.
on the train.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and again, there's like positive and negative aspects to it. So for me personally, like I see a lot in it where I think of it like as the infinite expanse, right? It's like when you die, things like expand, or there's like the void in some sense, which is like almost infinite.
Mm.
And you have like I would think of like space exploration, like the feeling that gives you of like just going out into empty space with like synth music going on, like Interstellar, like very Saturnistic imagery or emotions.
Okay.
But then you also have like I would associate the feeling of deep yearning. You know, it's like if you've ever had that like really deep, like there's something beyond this feeling. Like I would associate that with Saturn just for myself, or nostalgia, where it's like I want to go back to that time. You know, like to me that's a Saturnistic feeling.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how I feel when I read Last Battle, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all your favorite characters, you're reliving moments, you're like kind of participating in this new creation. It's like a very nostalgic feeling book to me. And so, but yeah, and everything in the book is like in decay, you know, it's like people are dying left, right, and center, which is weird for a kid's book.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of dark and gloomy for a kid's book.
Yeah.
People are dying. Narnia is dying.
Yeah.
It's like the whole story is just like continually going downhill and kind of getting worse and worse. It's like everything sort of sucks right now.
Yeah.
I don't see where this is going.
Right. It's like, how's he going to turn this around?
Yeah.
But then you kind of have again, at the end, you have the turnaround of that infinite again, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like up and what is it? Up and forward or something they say?
Upward and onward.
Upward and onward. Thank you. So it's, you know, it's like, so it's again, taking that old like death paradigm of like shrinking and collapsing and then expanding it into infinite on the other side. So it's like, it's that Saturnistic pattern of like the infinite, or like, you know, an expanse in some sense. So they're just expanding into goodness now rather than death.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, thinking about all these planets, it really just makes me wonder, people back in the day, like Galileo looking through his early telescopes, staring out there at the planets. You know, I mean, they just sort of named these things on their first impressions, like, or at least their early analysis of it. You know, it's like what kind of image did he get of Saturn to his eyeball looking through his telescope
Mm-hmm.
that he would then try to make ideas about it, or even people before him who just saw like bright stars in the sky, or like that one, like we should associate death with this one. Like, why? Like, why did you, I don't know, like, why did
Yeah.
you think that? Like, I don't know, just because. Like, I don't know. It's like, I
Yeah.
wonder, how did all this mythology come to these planets?
Like, did people like take their mythology and place it on the planet, or did like the planet inform their mythology? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
like
saying?
did they? Yeah. It's like, did they just need like physical symbolism to put their mythology on, and these conveniently created like actual representations of things,
Mhm.
or did they see characteristics of those planets and then try to
Mm.
base a story off of those characteristics? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
I tend to think it's the former. Like, the more they would like, you know, it's like you have these concepts of death or whatever, and it's like they're hard concepts to fully grasp, but then you see things like it's an abstract pattern, but then you find things like in the world that kind of embody that.
Mm.
Like if you saw like, I don't know, I don't know, like a mushroom or something, right? Like that kind of embodies death more than a flower does, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like rotting, decomposing, it's near dead stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you see flies, for instance, it's like that's more a closer representation to death
Right.
than a waterfall is,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever in nature. So I think, yeah, it's like easier to find physical representations for these really abstract concepts. And certain things just fit better than others.
Or like how historically people have always thought that caves were like entrances to the underworld.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, well, when you go into a cave, it's dark and creepy, and your shadow is
down.
dancing off of the firelight, and yeah, you're going down into the earth, and like, yeah, it's like, obviously you would think that this is like, I'm going to hell. Get out of this cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's like it doesn't matter if it's literally true. It just matters if it matches as close as possible to your conceptual vision,
Yeah.
like idea of what that is.
Yeah.
So, which is like why I think people get like people in don't understand like ancient ways of thinking, because it's like, well, they believed, you know, like again, like a cave was the underworld or like the path to the underworld. It's like probably most people didn't think that like just going in their local cave was going to take them to like Hades, you know. It's like, but we project that on them that they think that, you know.
Yeah.
Or it's like for them it was probably much more symbolic, and they're like, who knows? I'm not claiming to know how they thought exactly, but maybe, you know, maybe they thought like, okay, maybe there is some cave somewhere that goes to Hades, but these are like just the closest representation that we have around us, you know.
Right.
Or something
maybe
like that.
most of the people were like, it's just a cave.
Yeah.
Only the one guy, Fred, he's got a conspiracy that it goes down to hell,
Yeah.
and that the demons are watching us from there, and they're listening to us on our cell phones. But like, only he really believes in that theory. The rest of us are cool.
Yeah, you know, and it's like it's more about the symbolism or the connection to it, you know.
Yeah.
That's like, because there's things like that in this day and age where it's like we don't necessarily believe things, but we like associate certain idea, or like we associate certain things with different concepts, you know. It's like if you watch the news, yeah, you associate it with, or if you see Mark Zuckerberg, you associate it with lizard people and like conspiracies and like all
right.
this kind of stuff, you know. It's like if people like look back at us, they'd be like, man, they thought this guy was a lizard if they like go searching through all internet posts.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't actually think he was a lizard.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
They thought this one dude was a lizard, but then they would give him all of their data.
Yeah.
And then some of them kind of worshipped him in a cult.
Yeah, it'd be so confusing.
They would use all of his products, but they hated him at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
He wasn't the biggest or strongest of them. I don't know how he had all this influence over them.
It's so weird.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
anytime you look outside your own time, everything seems strange. Yeah. And again, maybe that's to your point of the earth, where if you get used to it, it's not magical anymore.
Right.
So,
I know part of me wonders if science has ruined the entertainment of the world. Like, on the one hand, learning how things work is so entertaining.
Yeah.
Like before, it was just like the sperm whale just killed you with its magical powers. and no, like believing in the magical mysteries of the planet Earth is like does seem kind of like a thrill, like, ooh,
Yeah.
that sounds exciting.
Mhm.
But then once you know the science of it,
You're
it's
like,
like,
he touched this frog and he died.
yeah,
That's crazy.
right, yeah,
That's
it's
a bad juju frog.
bad juju frog. That frog's a demon. But yeah, it's like it does not knowing the truth, not knowing the science, and just believing it's like weird mystical magic make it more exciting, or is it exciting when you actually know the science?
Mm,
I think that sometimes people just get bored with science as an educational form,
mm,
but it's like
That's
if
good-
you
good
could
point.
if you could learn the science in a more entertaining way,
yeah.
it's like this is magic science. Ooh, then I think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
People would appreciate it more. But
That's a good takeaway. Yeah.
like if you learned astronomy in astronomy class
Yeah.
while also learning the ancient cosmology
Oh, okay.
symbolism to the planets,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this is how the ancients thought the planets were magical in certain cool ways and
Mm.
symbolism to it, and it's like maybe that would make the science class of understanding the orbital patterns of Mars more interesting or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was thinking of like, yeah, if you learned by like going around the planets in a space shuttle.
Oh well, that would be super cool too.
Right. Yeah. I think most of education not being exciting is just the fault of people not actually, because stuff is boring.
Yeah.
It's like how it's taught more than anything.
Yeah,
So.
dude. Wait until we have astronomy field trip day. Okay, guys, into the space rocket today. We're gonna fly around the planets.
Into Elon Musk's spaceship.
That's right. Okay, there's Jupiter right over there.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Gosh.
Yeah, because like most things, like dude, kids love like getting their hands dirty and like
Mhm.
messing around with stuff, and they're always learning. But it's like when people try to like sit them in a classroom and just make them, learn.
Yeah.
It's like that's when they resent learning.
Yeah.
It's like everyone loves learning until they're forced to,
Yeah.
or learn it in a way that's
Becomes
not.
stressful.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
your parents' approval depends on it.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah.
always some external factor that's pressuring you.
Yeah.
It's like, do you really have to know this? I don't know.
Yeah. Sit still in that room. Don't make noises. Get a good grade, or we'll be angry with you.
Yeah. And even if you do good, we won't be that happy.
Yeah.
Maybe for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But then we'll be back to pressuring you and angry.
That's right.
So
Sad, dark world that we live in.
Saturn world.
Saturn world. There you have it, people.
Yep.
Enjoy the planets.
Indeed.
Enjoy the symbolism.
People think about Lewis in a new weird way.
That's right. Honestly, yeah.
He was a raging astrologer.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Raging, seriously. Makes me want to reread Narnia and pick up more details.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I
That's-
want to search for strange metals or something.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll kind of see it like all over the place. There's no lead in Last Battle. Spoiler alert.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Well, people were led astray.
All right. Until next time.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.